Hashtag short and cool article. The CEO's secret lover. Hashtag chapter 1, a night of absurdity. Lin Wanqing felt hot and uncomfortable all over her body. What happened to her? Could it be that there was something wrong with the cocktail that her uncle gave her just now at the bar downstairs? Fortunately, she knew Taekwondo and kicked the uncle away and escaped from the uncle's clutches in time. However, she felt so uncomfortable now that she felt like she was about to die. No, she had to go back to the room upstairs to take a shower and have a good sleep. Lin Wanqing staggered out of the elevator. The love potion in the cocktail began to take effect, and her mind began to drift. Lin Wanqing was walking in the corridor and looked at a man walking in the corridor. Although he was not very close, when she saw the man, she felt like she was on fire. Not only was her mouth dry, but her mind was also thinking about knocking down the man. She subconsciously walked forward, step after step, and finally came to the man. He also exuded a strong smell of alcohol, and he was opening the door. Lin Wanqing dragged the man into the room and took off his clothes without saying a word. Her mind was beginning to become unclear, and her only thought was to fall in love with the handsome man in front of her. Soon the room was filled with beautiful scenery, and from time to time the low breathing and gasping sounds of men and women could be heard. The next day, Lin Wanqing woke up with pain all over her body. She heard soft snoring in her ears. She turned her head in surprise and saw a man sleeping next to the pillow. She sat up suddenly and looked at herself subconsciously. She was naked and wearing nothing. Then she looked at the man next to her, who was also naked. She opened her mouth just to scream, but suddenly she covered her mouth. No, she couldn't scream. What if she woke up the man next to her? What's going on now? Lin Wanqing was about to cry, but couldn't find any tears. She tried hard to recall what happened last night. It seemed like she drank too much and raped a man last night. Is that man him? And he is also a super handsome guy. This is the first time she has seen a man as handsome as him since she grew up. The facial features are impeccably sculpted, with long fan-shaped eyelashes, a high bridge of nose, and extremely sexy thin lips. It's just that now is not the time for her to admire handsome guys. She should run away quickly. If he woke up, she would be doomed. She quickly put on her clothes lightly, and when she was finished, she took it out of her trouser pocket and finally took out 100 yuan. She threw the 100 yuan next to him, then added a note, and Lin Wanqing slipped away quickly. Hashtag chapter to meet again. 5 years later. Lin Wanqing took a week off because her son had a fever and was hospitalized with pneumonia. When her son recovered, he was sent to the kindergarten early in the morning. She arrived at the door of Regent building on time. As soon as she entered, she met her female colleague Li Rongrong in a black suit. Wanqing, you finally came to work today. How are you? Is my godson Shaun and recovered? Li Rongrong put her hand on her shoulder and asked. It's ready. I'll send it to the kindergarten in the morning. Otherwise, how could I come to work today? Lin Wanqing said. You just sent him to kindergarten? Can't you let my godson rest at home more? Li Rongrong said with a frown. If I continue to rest, my salary will be deducted, and I will have to pay kindergarten fees soon. I have to make more money. Lin Wanqing shook her head helplessly. Hey, it's not easy for you as a single mother. If you are short of money, just ask. Li Rongrong siga destrozadly. Thank you for your kindness. I'm not short of money at the moment. I'll borrow it from you when I do. Oh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Let's take the elevator quickly. Otherwise, we'll have to climb the stairs again during rush hour, Lin Wanqing said as she walked quickly towards the elevator. Lin Wanqing and Li Rongrong hurriedly squeezed into the elevator, but the elevator showed that it was full and kept blaring warning sounds. People in the elevator pretended not to know. Lin Wanqing thought for a while and decided to go up by herself in order not to waste everyone's time. Wanqing, why are you out? Come in quickly, or you'll be late, Li Rongrong shouted anxiously, but the elevator door closed quickly, and her shouting could no longer be heard. Lin Wanqing stood at the door of the elevator and could only wait for the elevator to come down quickly. The second elevator was also full. It was quite a busy day today. It seemed that she was destined to be late. Suddenly, a strong masculine aura approached her, and when she turned her head, she saw a man standing next to her. When she took a closer look at the man's appearance, she was stunned. How could it be him? She was about to turn around and escape, but was stopped by the HR manager. "Are you Lin Wanqing? Come and receive our new President Shen. Your job today is to take President Shen to see the head office, tell him about the company's development history, how many employees there are, and familiarize him with it." "But I do after-sales work, not the HR department." Lin Wanqing looked at the HR manager and explained. "Xiaoqin from the Human Resources Department asked for leave today. You can work for her for 1 day, and you will still get your salary." The Human Resources Manager looked at Lin Wanqing and said, "Okay." Lin Wanqing reluctantly agreed, then looked at the new President Shen and said politely to him, "Welcome to President Shen. I am Lin Wanqing from the After Sales Department. My daily job is to deal with the quality issues of various products. Because Xiaoqin from the HR department did not come due to leave, so I took her place to accompany President Shen to familiarize herself with the company's environment. Hello, President Shen. Please pay attention." As she spoke, she stretched out her hand as if to shake his hand. President Shen glanced at Lin Wanqing indifferently, with his hands still in his pockets, looking at the elevator door, and said in a cold tone, "Our company should be full of vitality, and we should pay special attention to appearance. Is this company employee dressed too old-fashioned? For those who don't know, I thought I was seeing a nun." After hearing this, Lin Wanqing's face changed, her mouth twitched, she withdrew her hand, and subconsciously pushed up her black-rimmed glasses. She knew that she looked old-fashioned, but she didn't look like a nun. This CEO Shen was really venomous. Puffed! The HR manager couldn't help but snicker, and then felt that he shouldn't laugh like that, so he quickly explained, "President Shen, she is a veteran employee of the company and has been doing after-sales service work. Although her clothes are a bit old-fashioned, she works very seriously and is very enthusiastic about customers. I will ask her to pay attention to her image in the future," which made President Shen laugh. The customer service staff and other employees in the head office are all very young and beautiful. At this time, the elevator door opened and President Shen walked in. The HR manager winked at Lin Wanqing, who was in a daze, and the two walked into the elevator together. Soon people came into the elevator one after another. Finally, the elevator reached the 28th floor, and the three of them walked out of the elevator together. The HR manager left first because he still had work to deal with. Lin Wanqing led President Shen to walk in the corridor, explaining as they walked. President Shen looked impatient as he listened to the jabbering woman in front of him and asked directly, How many employees are there in the head office?" "There are 208 employees in total." Lin Wanqing answered without thinking. "Yes, there are 209 employees in total, including me. Although I am the president, I am also an employee of the company. Are you still an old employee of the company? You don't even know how many employees there are? How do you work? Do you know when to go to work every day and when to get off? You never stay in the company to work overtime." President Shen had an aggressive attitude and said a lot of words to teach her. Lin Wanqing was almost dumbfounded. People said that the new CEO had a bad temper and was difficult to get along with. She finally saw it. It's just that she ignored him. Is he so picky? "I'm not from the Human Resources Department. How do I know so much?" Lin Wanqing muttered softly. "What did you say?" President Shen looked slightly unhappy. "I mean, CEO, you're thirsty. Do you need some tea?" Lin Wanqing showed a fake smile. "An employee who can't even figure out the number of employees. Do you think I'm in the mood for tea?" President Shen asked with raised eyebrows. He had never wanted to take over the management of this company. It was his father who forced him to transfer from the U.S. headquarters to the domestic head office. Since the last president was imprisoned for corruption, the company was an empty shell and a mess. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. "Mr. President, even if I misstate the number of employees, President, you won't be so angry, right?" Lin Wanqing asked cautiously, wondering if the man in front of her has reached menopause and spoke so rudely. President Shen raised his narrow eyes and looked at her with a faint smile. Miss Lin, why do I feel that you look familiar? Have we met somewhere? As he spoke, he did not forget to move forward, forcing Lin Wanqing to step back and unknowingly pushed her into the corner. Lin Wanqing swallowed hard and avoided his gaze guiltily. Her heart beat faster, and she quickly lowered her head and said, President Shen, it's just the first day we met. How could we look familiar? Maybe I look more ordinary, so I just look familiar to you. Oh, really? President Shen looked at her condescendingly, doubting her. President Shen, we are in the corridor now. There's still 5 minutes until the staff break time. It won't be good to wait for them to show up and see us like this. Lin Wanqing still lowered her head and said, their current posture was too ambiguous, and the strong masculine aura made her feel suffocated. Raise your head and look at me, President Shen ordered her. Hearing his majestic voice, Lin Wanqing's heart suddenly tightened, and she had to slowly raise her head, and her eyes met his bright eyes. She was a little scared to be stared at by him, and she quickly turned her head to avoid his sight. She was so afraid of being recognized by him, and she felt so embarrassed when she thought of herself raping him like a hungry wolf 6 years ago. President Shen stretched out his hand and turned her face right in front of his eyes. He held her chin with his slender fingertips and asked, Miss Lin, you seem to be afraid of me? President Shen, you are joking. How could I be afraid of you? Lin Wanqing smiled. What would it look like if you took off your glasses? President Shen stared straight at her and said meaningfully, and was about to reach out to take off her glasses. At this time, there were footsteps, and the two of them quickly separated and walked out one after the other. ##, Chapter 3 Personal Secretary. Lin Wanqing followed Shen Yixuan uneasily. She thought that her colleagues would ask why she was with President Shen and interrogate her, but in the end, she was ignored, and she instantly turned into a transparent statue. When a female employee saw President Shen's handsome face, which made people and gods angry, red hearts appeared in her eyes. She held her cheek and shouted, Wow, who is this handsome guy? Oh my God, he is several times more handsome than a celebrity. Is this a new male colleague? Wow, are you in the same group as me? If you work with me every day, I would be willing to work overtime every day until late at night. Another woman shouted. He's so handsome. Is he a human? Is he a human? Oh my God, this guy is so handsome. I'm so curious. Another fat female colleague screamed excitedly. Well, he is not a human being, but a weirdo with a bad temper. This is what Lin Wanqing thought in her heart, shaking her head secretly for those nymphomaniacs. They're all a bunch of ignorant beauty controllers. A group of female colleagues showed no signs of being infatuated with President Shen and kept chattering. President Shen looked at those women speechlessly, his handsome face turned black. What he hated the most was these superficial women. As soon as he smelled the pungent and cheap perfume, he couldn't help but sneeze. Sneeze. Ahem, colleagues, let me announce that this is Shen Yixuan, the new President Shen of our company. Lin Wanqing coughed lightly, walked up to the nymphomaniac female colleagues, and introduced them. As soon as the female colleagues heard that their new CEO turned out to be a super handsome guy, they immediately screamed even louder and rushed to shake hands with Shen Yixuan. The corridor was bustling with shrill female voices from time to time. What was even more exaggerated was that some people could faint from excitement because they shook Shen Yixuan's hand. Lin Wanqing looked at the chaotic situation with black lines on her head. She thought that when introducing the new president, the nymphomaniacs would be able to restrain themselves, but they turned out to be even crazier. It was as if they had not seen a handsome man in 8 lifetimes, and there was no reserve at all that a woman should have. But where is Shen Yixuan? Did he sneak out while there were many people? Lin Wanqing didn't find him in the crowd. She was an agent today and couldn't lose the CEO, so she quickly ran into the company. Now is the rest time for employees, so there are only a few people in the company. Lin Wanqing did not find Shin Yixuan from the office. She felt tired and thirsty, so she went to her desk, picked up the cup, and went to the water dispenser to fill it with water. Suddenly, she felt pain in her waist and was hit by someone. She was about to curse, but when she turned around, she saw Shin Yixuan and asked quickly, "President Shin, where were you just now?" Shin Yixuan hooked his finger at her and asked her to come closer. Lin Wanqing obediently approached him. "Where's the bathroom?" "Turn left over there, then walk to the end and you'll be there." Lin Wanqing pointed in the direction ahead. "Which way is that? You should give me a direction, right? North or south? East or west?" Shin Yixuan asked seriously. "Okay, I'll take you there. My sense of direction is very poor, and I can't tell the difference between east, west, and north." Lin Wanqing was defeated by his persistence and had to take Shin Yixuan to the bathroom. She took him to the bathroom and couldn't leave. She had to wait for him to come out before she could return to her desk. She discovered that the new CEO seemed to have obsessive-compulsive disorder and was very serious. This was really hard work. Fortunately, she only took care of him for one day, and she would be liberated tomorrow. #, Chapter 4 forced to transfer positions. Lin Wanqing was waiting for Shin Yixuan to come out at the bathroom door and drinking water. Suddenly, someone tapped her shoulder, which startled her. She turned around and saw that it was Li Rongrong's brother Li Danyang, who was also her colleague and the after-sales department manager of the company. "I said, 'Manager Li, you really scared me to death. You walked without making a sound, like a ghost.'" Lin Wanqing patted her chest lightly and complained, "Wanqing, how come you have the leisure to go to the bathroom and drink water today without feeling the taste is too strong?" Li Danyang looked at her and joked, "Don't mention it. It's hard to explain in one sentence." Lin Wanqing sighed with a bitter face. "By the way, I almost forgot. The information you have here is about recent product quality problems, including motherboard problems and graphics card problems. Take a good look at it and submit the report to me before 12 o'clock tomorrow." Li Danyang handed a lot of information to Lin Wanqing's hands. Lin Wanqing held the information, took out one, and started reading it. She nodded to him. "Okay, I will report to you tomorrow. Then I'll go back. You drink water slowly." Li Danyang smiled at her, and just as he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something and added, "Take Xiaonan to my house for dinner tonight. Don't forget, it's 6 o'clock in the evening." After saying that, he left. "Okay, I got it." Lin Wanqing still looked at the information in her hand. Shin Yixuan glanced at Li Danyang's back indifferently, with a complicated look in his eyes. Then his eyes fell on Lin Wanqing, who was looking down at the information, and said to her, "Miss Lin, make me a cup of coffee and send it to the president's office." Lin Wanqing was in a trance and didn't hear Shin Yixuan's voice at all until he stood in front of her and smelled the familiar smell. She couldn't help but raise her head, blinked, and asked cautiously, "President Shin, you came out. What did you just say?" Shin Yixuan crossed his arms and looked down at her. He suddenly leaned over her ear and lightly opened his thin lips. "What I'm saying is, Miss Lin, you make a cup of coffee and send it to the president's office." After saying that, he turned and left. Lin Wanqing froze on the spot. Making coffee for him? Isn't that what a secretary does? And she doesn't even know where the coffee is. It's just that he was so close just now, and his breath was still lingering in her ears. Her little face turned red unconsciously, and her heart suddenly beat violently. Li Rongrong walked up to Lin Wanqing, put her hand on her shoulder, and asked her curiously, "Lin Wanqing heard that you are going to be President Shin's personal assistant today. You have actually switched from working behind the scenes to working in front of the curtain. What's going on? Why don't you tell me honestly? I just saw a man talking in your ear. Who is that man? He doesn't look like a colleague. Tell me now, or I will be rude to you." Lin Wanqing was worrying about making coffee and didn't listen to a word of Li Rongrong's words. Suddenly her head flashed, and she smiled at Li Rongrong and said, "Li Rongrong, don't you drink coffee often? Come on, lend me a bottle of instant coffee. I want a latte." "Hey, Did you hear what I asked you just now? Why are you thinking so fast that you even borrowed coffee from me? Why did you drink coffee instead of milk tea? Li Rongrong rolled her eyes speechlessly. Yes, you should change your taste and hurry up and get me coffee. There's so many problems. Lin Wanqing pulled Li Rongrong and ran forward. Lin Wanqing threw the information on the desk, found a brand new teacup from the drawer, tore open the packaging bag, and poured the coffee powder into the cup. She walked to the water dispenser and poured hot water into it. After the coffee was brewed, she walked to the president's office. While Lin Wanqing was walking in the corridor carefully holding the cup, she met Zhang Yufan, who was dressed gorgeously in the customer service department. She was wearing a low-cut white t-shirt, a mini black skirt, and thin black high-heeled shoes, which showed her tall figure and slender legs. Lin Wanqing and Zhang Yufan had always been at odds with each other and would fight each other when they met. Lin Wanqing pretended not to notice and walked forward. However, she heard Zhang Yufan's strange voice and couldn't help but stop. Hey, isn't this Lin Wanqing? The sun is out in the west. Why didn't you stay in the after-sales department today and go to the customer service department? You don't work hard, but you still wander around and drink coffee. Miss Zhang Yufan, can you speak nicely? Why do you always speak harshly every time you see me? Where did I provoke you? And here, there's not only the customer service department, but also other departments. Do I have to ask for your permission when I go to other departments? Lin Wanqing said, standing beside her. Zhang Yufan rudely rolled her eyes at Lin Wanqing, raised her nostrils to the sky, and said provocatively, I just don't like you. What's the matter? Come and bite me if you can. As she spoke, she came to Lin Wanqing and blocked her way. Wherever she went, she would block her. Zhang Yufan, get out of my way. Lin Wanqing was furious. I won't let you, Zhang Yufan said firmly. You won't let me, right? Then I'll pour the coffee on you. Your top is white. If coffee is poured on it, the color will be really nice. Lin Wanqing made a gesture as if she was going to pour the coffee. Zhang Yufan was a little worried, but she still yelled, You dare to splash it and try it. Humph, you're not that big-hearted that I wasted the coffee on you. This coffee is for the president, because you are not worth getting scolded by the president. Lin Wanqing sneered, turned around, and walked to the president's office. Wait a minute, did you say this coffee is delivered to the president's office? Zhang Yufan stepped on her thin high heels and chased after Lin Wanqing. What for? Do you want to help me deliver coffee to the president? Lin Wanqing stopped and turned to look at her. Zhang Yufan looked at her with a flattering face and said, I did something wrong just now. To express my apology to you, let me bring you coffee. You want to help me deliver it? Are you so kind? Lin Wanqing stared at her suspiciously. She was fierce just now, but now she is like a pug. This woman can really turn her head faster than turning the page in a book. Yeah. Zhang Yufan nodded sharply. Lin Wanqing thought for a moment and realized that she was actually afraid of seeing Shen Yishuan and wanted to escape from him, so she handed the cup to Zhang Yufan. Don't worry, I will definitely deliver the coffee to the president. Zhang Yufan made an okay gesture to Lin Wanqing and then walked forward with a twist. Lin Wanqing looked at Zhang Yufan's back. Why did she always feel uneasy? Is there any problem? It was better for her to follow. Chapter 5 Being Forced to Kiss. When Lin Wanqing arrived at the door of the CEO's office, before she even got close, the door suddenly opened and she heard a scream. Ah! Zhang Yufan's body flew out, and she fell onto her back in a panic. Even her pink panties were exposed. Lin Wanqing looked at the scene in surprise. What happened? Before she could react, her body was suddenly pulled in. Zhang Yufan's scream instantly attracted many colleagues to come and watch. Unfortunately, the shutters in the CEO's office were closed tightly, and they couldn't see anything going on inside. Lin Wanqing was leaning against the door panel, and Shen Yishuan's long legs were approaching, imprisoning her arms and pressing against her legs, preventing her from moving. Lin Wanqing closed her eyes in fear, with an expression as if she was looking forward to death. Her whole heart was raised. What was she going to do? This big CEO. Who is he? Does he want to bang? Shin Yixuan narrowed his eyes, looked at her condescendingly, and asked, "Didn't I tell you to deliver coffee? Do you think my words are just air? Just send of female seductors here? What I hate the most is women who come into my office without my permission, and they also want to treat me." Banshee? Lin Wanqing couldn't help but sneer and became curious. She opened her eyes boldly, looked up at him, and asked, "President Shin, what did she do to you to make you lose such a temper?" "Can't you read?" Shin Yixuan tugged on the black tie on his white shirt and saw a red lip mark on his collar. Lin Wanqing was shocked. "President, were you forcibly kissed by her?" However, the topic changed. "But CEO, you are a man. No matter what happens, it will not be a disadvantage for you, right?" Shin Yixuan suddenly came close to her face and said slowly and expressionlessly, "I hate unclean things the most in my life." Dirty stuff? Lin Wanqing suddenly remembered that she seemed to have vomited all over him 5 years ago. If he knew that the woman was her, would he be dead? "President Shin, I haven't washed my hair in several days. Don't get too close." Lin Wanqing lied, just wanting to escape from him quickly. After hearing this, Shin Yixuan came close to her hair and sniffed it, shaking his head. "It doesn't seem to stink. It smells pretty good." As he spoke, he smelled the fragrance emanating from her hair. Shin Yixuan also felt strange. Why he had a special feeling for the woman in front of him, and instead of hating her, he liked to be close to her, especially because she exuded a faint fragrance, which was much better than those perfumes. The reason why he hates women is because he was raped by a crazy woman who suddenly appeared out of nowhere 5 years ago when he was drunk and even vomited all over him. He started to hate women and regarded women as beasts. He was once afraid of snake bites towards women. Lin Wanqing was defeated by his action of sniffing her hair just now, and she quickly lied again. "President Shin, I haven't showered in several days." "Really? Let me see if you are dirty." A sly smile appeared on Shin Yixuan's lips, and his big hands quickly unbuttoned 2 buttons of her black top, quickly revealing her fair skin and sexy collarbones, followed by her proud breasts, but he did not go any further. Lin Wanqing was frightened by his sudden movement. Her face turned red instantly, and she stammered, "President Shin, why are you taking off my clothes?" He looked at it seriously and said, "It's quite clean." Chapter 6 Becoming a Secretary to Pay Off Debts. Lin Wanqing saw his eyes glancing at her chest and quickly wanted to reach out to hold her clothes to prevent the love affair from happening. However, her hand was tightly grabbed by Shin Yixuan, and she could only glare at him. No matter if he was the CEO or not, he was first class in her eyes now. The gangster said angrily, "What are you looking at? Pervert!" As soon as he finished speaking, there was only a crisp sound, and the 3rd button of her top fell to the ground. Now her black underwear was completely exposed in front of his eyes, and her proud breasts were ready to come out, looming. The alluring beauty made Shin Yixuan's throat roll, and he said with an innocent expression, "You invited me to see this on your own initiative. I didn't force you." Lin Wanqing tried to push him away in embarrassment, but was restrained by him and became even more unable to move. She said angrily, "President Shin, what exactly do you want to do?" Shin Yixuan looked at her calmly and spoke slowly. "Who told you to disobey me and let a female seductress enter my office? You have to pay for the loss of a shirt to me." "How much?" Lin Wanqing asked timidly, glancing at his shirt a few times. It looked like it was from a well-known brand, so it wouldn't be super expensive. Shin Yixuan stretched out 5 fingers. Lin Wanqing asked quickly, 500. Shin Yixuan shook his head. Lin Wanqing took a sharp breath and asked again, 5,000. It was so expensive. She didn't have that much money to pay. Shin Yixuan shook his head again. Lin Wanqing was shocked now. Is it 50,000? Oh my God, so expensive. Shin Yixuan raised his beautiful eyebrows with a half-smiling expression and spoke slowly. Well, it's 50,000, either compensation or... In fact, the shirt cost $150,000. Either what? Lin Wanqing suddenly blurted out. As long as she didn't lose money, she was willing to do anything. If she hadn't been leaning against the door panel to prevent her from sliding down, otherwise her legs and feet would have become weak, and she would have collapsed on the ground when she heard the astronomical figures. How about you become my CEO's secretary and use this to pay off debts? Are you willing? Shen Yishuan suggested. Lin Wanqing's beautiful eyes widened in vain, and she said in disbelief, "But President Shen, my job has always been to do after-sales work. I don't know how to do secretarial work." You can't learn if you don't know. You can go back and pack the things on your desk immediately and move to the office opposite me in the afternoon. After Shen Yishuan finished speaking, he left her and turned towards his desk. But the company has recruited a secretary to the president, and she will report here in the afternoon. Lin Wanqing quickly buttoned up 2 buttons, bent down to pick up the buttons on the ground, and reached out to cover her chest. "I have already rejected you. The HR manager will be looking for you soon." Shen Yishuan sat leisurely on the boss's chair and looked straight at her. Lin Wanqing had no choice but to nod. "Okay, I'm willing to be your secretary." When she turned to leave, she suddenly remembered that her top was missing a button. If she went out, wouldn't she be seen? Lin Wanqing blushed and asked, "President, do you have a sewing box here? I want to sew buttons." "Do you think there will be a sewing box in a man's office?" Shen Yishuan looked at her with his chin in his hands. Lin Wanqing actually knew that there was no chance of a sewing box, but she still held on to a glimmer of hope and could only sigh, "I know, I'm going out." As long as she covered her chest and went out, she could just go to the dressing room and change into a top. When Lin Wanqing was about to open the door and leave, Shen Yishuan suddenly came over and stopped her. "Why don't you put on my coat and go out?" ## Chapter 7 Canteen Troubles. No. Lin Wanqing shook her head violently and went out wearing his coat. If the whole company knew about this, gossip would definitely spread. Shen Yishuan didn't allow her to refuse. He put his coat on her domineeringly, opened the door, and pushed her out. Lin Wanqing had the urge to scold her mother, but she was pushed out by the damned Shen Yishuan. One can imagine how miserable her situation was. With so many strange eyes on her and curious questions about her relationship with the CEO, Lin Wanqing could only keep her mouth shut and use the 36 strategy as her best strategy. She covered her face with her suit jacket and squeezed out of the crowd, heading straight to the dressing room. Shen Yishuan stood in front of the blinds, with a playful smile on his lips. Lin Wanqing? Very interesting woman. After Lin Wanqing changed her clothes, she came to her desk and started packing her things. The HR manager promptly informed her that she had been transferred to work opposite the president's office. From then on, she changed from the after-sales department to the president's secretary. Lin Wanqing sighed deeply. She would have to face that face every day in the future and pray to God not to let him recognize her. Li Rongrong came to her desk to help pack things. While packing, she said, "Wanqing, I didn't expect you to be transferred so quickly. We can't work together in the future. I can't bear to leave you." "Me too. I really can't let go of the place where I have worked for 5 years. Hey, who made my life miserable? Rongrong, I really can't let you go." Lin Wanqing frowned. Li Rongrong stretched out her arms and hugged Lin Wanqing, comforting her. "I heard that the new CEO is a super handsome guy. Maybe you are lucky and you will become the CEO's wife in the future. Don't be sad. It's not like we can't meet each other." Bah, don't curse me. The CEO has a weird and unpredictable temper, so what's the point of having a good-looking face? Lin Wanqing shook her head quickly. Just be pretentious. How many people envy you, and everyone wants to be the president's secretary. Li Rongrong let go of her, nodded her forehead, and said with a smile, "Then let them do it." Lin Wanqing gritted her teeth. "Is everything packed? I'll help you take it to your office." Li Rongrong picked up a large cardboard box and left the desk. "Rongrong, it's nice to meet you. Lin Wanqing followed Li Rongrong with a small cardboard box and a bag in her hand. TSK, stop being numb. I'm about to vomit. Li Rongrong couldn't bear it and threw an eyeball at her. Hee. Lin Wanqing smiled silly and walked forward faster. After a while, Lin Wanqing and Li Rongrong arrived at the door of the secretary's office. Li Rongrong opened the door first, turned on a light, and saw a small office. There was only a desk, a computer, a phone, a chair, and nothing else. Fortunately, the floor was not dirty, as if it had just been cleaned. Li Rongrong put the big cardboard box on the ground and complained to Lin Wanqing behind her. Your office is too small, isn't it? I didn't expect our president to be so picky. Later, I will help you find someone from the administration department to provide you with a water dispenser. It's just a secretary. How much space can be given? Lin Wanqing looked at the office, which was only about 10 square meters in size, and sighed deeply. Okay, it's almost 11:30, and we're about to get off work. Let's go to the cafeteria downstairs to eat first, Li Rongrong said, and walked out. Lin Wanqing closed the door, took out the key, and looked back at the CEO's office. She saw that it was pitch dark inside. It seemed that the CEO was not there. He must have gone out to eat. She secretly prayed that she would not run into him in the cafeteria. When Lin Wanqing and Li Rongrong arrived at the entrance of the cafeteria, they saw that the cafeteria hall was already overcrowded. Lin Wanqing and Li Rongrong picked up their plates together and lined up to wait for food. While waiting for the food, Li Rongrong looked back and couldn't help but mutter, "Why are there so many people in the cafeteria today? Especially there are so many women. Is there a handsome guy in the cafeteria?" Lin Wanqing also looked around. It was true that there were mostly female employees, but she didn't find any handsome guys outside the company. Of course, there are handsome guys in the company, such as Li Rongrong's brother and Zhao Yi from the game development department, who specializes in coding. Not only is he handsome, he is also good at coding. He is the Prince Charming in the eyes of many female colleagues. It has been 5 years since she came to this company. Before she came to work, it was still a small computer company. In her second year of working, it slowly became a listed company. There are also companies abroad involving notebooks, desktop computers, online games, and antivirus software. There are many branches under it, and she works at the headquarters. However, in the past few years, many new technology companies have emerged. There are too many competitors, and the prices of the company's products are too high. The newly developed online games are not popular in the market and are not novel enough. Many old players have left. The company has begun to decline again. In addition, the company's senior management has been involved in corruption and misappropriation of public funds, which has led to a break in the capital chain and severe losses for the company. That's why the chairman asked his son Shenixuan to work at the domestic headquarters in order to reverse the company's loss-making situation and bring the headquarters on track. "What kind of food do you want?" asked the cafeteria aunt. As soon as she heard the voice of the cafeteria aunt, Lin Wanqing quickly regained her composure, scanned the dishes, and said to her, "A serving of sweet and sour pork ribs." "A serving of sweet and sour pork ribs." The voices belonged to two people. One was Lin Wanqing's, and the other was Shenixuan's. Lin Wanqing turned her head to look at Shenixuan in surprise, and Shenixuan stood next to her with a calm expression, as if he didn't notice that she was around. In fact, when Shenixuan saw her arriving, he had already noticed her. "There is only one portion of sweet and sour pork ribs left. Which one of you wants it?" The aunt in the cafeteria looked at the two of them. Lin Wanqing shook her head quickly. "Andy, I don't want it anymore. Just give me a portion of kung pao chicken, stir-fried cabbage some, seaweed soup, and a bowl of rice." "Okay." The cafeteria aunt nodded, then looked at Shenixuan and said with a smile, "Handsome guy, then the sweet and sour pork ribs are yours." After saying that, she took the sweet and sour pork ribs onto the dinner plate. After Lin Wanqing got the food, she took the plate and looked for Li Rongrong. She scanned for a long time, but didn't see Li Rongrong. When she turned around, she saw Shenixuan walking in her direction, and she quickly lowered her head to look for Li Rongrong. Finally, she saw Li Rongrong's figure behind the pillar. She shrunk and sat opposite Li Rongrong. She turned around and looked around. She didn't see Shin Yishuan's figure. She breathed a sigh of relief. It was so dangerous. Seeing her nervous look, Li Rongrong couldn't help but ask, "Wanqing, what's wrong with you? You look like a thief. Didn't I tell you, you are still sitting in the same place? I've been waiting for you for a long time, and now you come here." "Sure, don't make a sound." Lin Wanqing put her finger to her mouth. Just in case Shin Yishuan heard her name, it would be over. Hashtag Chapter 8 Encounter in the cafeteria. Suddenly, the cafeteria became noisy, and women screamed from time to time, "Wow, look, the president is coming." "Oh my God, where will the president sit to eat? Unfortunately, my place is full of people. Wow, there is no hope." The women all had red eyes, while the men looked envious and jealous. Shin Yishuan suddenly ignored him and walked calmly among the crowd. He scanned the canteen with clear eyes until he saw a familiar figure. His eyes fell on her. He stayed for a few seconds before looking away and quickly continued walking in her direction. Lin Wanqing had long been accustomed to the noise in the cafeteria. Normally, a nymphomaniac would behave this way when seeing a handsome guy. She was immersed in eating and didn't realize that Shin Yishuan had quietly approached. At this moment, a magnetic voice reached her eardrums. "Is there anyone here? Can I sit down?" "Okay," Lin Wanqing said decisively. When Li Rongrong saw Shin Yishuan sitting opposite her, her mind was blown away, and then she exclaimed like a nymphomaniac, "Wow, he's so handsome." As soon as she heard Li Rongrong's voice, Lin Wanqing turned to look at the person next to her. It didn't matter if she didn't look at her. As soon as she saw her, she froze in her seat. "Secretary Lin, what a coincidence." Shin Yishuan smiled slightly at her and spoke lightly. "Yes, what a coincidence." Lin Wanqing squeezed out 4 words stiffly. She had tried very hard to escape from him, but why was he so lingering? Could it be that God wanted to punish her because she raped him 5 years ago? "Your dish looks good. How about I trade it with you? Sweet and sour pork ribs for your kung pao chicken, okay?" Shin Yishuan glanced at the dishes on her plate. "Isn't this good? I've already eaten some of the kung pao chicken." Lin Wanqing secretly glanced at the sweet and sour pork ribs on his plate and swallowed hard. Although it was very tempting, she couldn't be so shameless. "I don't mind." As Shin Yishuan spoke, he picked up the spoon unceremoniously and scooped kung pao chicken from Lin Wanqing's plate onto his rice. "President, you, Lin Wanqing stammered, her eyes almost falling off the table. "Doesn't he have mysophobia?" Actually ate what she had eaten. Li Rongrong was simply dumbfounded. When did Lin Wanqing have such a good relationship with the new CEO and their hookup turned into an affair so quickly? Is her brother going to be in trouble? People nearby were also talking a lot. Some people secretly looked in their direction, whispering about the relationship between Lin Wanqing and Shin Yishuan. Zhang Yufin was also sitting nearby, her eyes burning with jealousy, wanting to burn Lin Wanqing to death. The hateful Lin Wanqing caused her to make a fool of herself that morning, and now she is hooking up with the man she likes. She is really a green tea bitch, a white lotus, a bitch. Lin Wanqing didn't dare to catch Shin Yishuan's attention. She just wanted to finish her meal and leave here quickly. Just when she thought she could sneak away after finishing her meal, a few pieces of sweet and sour pork ribs suddenly appeared on her plate. "Eat more, you're too thin." Shin Yishuan said this out of the blue, instantly drawing hatred from Lin Wanqing. Lin Wanqing could already feel the jealous eyes one after another. She quickly said, "Thank you, CEO, for your concern, but I'm full." As soon as she finished speaking, she ran away quickly. "President Shen, goodbye." Li Rongrong nodded to Shin Yishuan, stood up, and chased after him. Shin Yishuan looked at Lin Wanqing's panicked back. A fox-like smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and then continued to eat. Lin Wanqing gritted her teeth secretly. Damn Shin Yishuan. He did it on purpose, just to make her the target of public criticism. She would never want to go to work quietly in the future. Ignoring those who asked curious questions, Lin Wanqing ran out of the canteen quickly. Wanqing, wait for me. Li Rongrong panted and chased her. Lin Wanqing stopped, waited for her, and explained to her. Rongrong, don't get me wrong, President Shen and I really have nothing to do with each other. Li Rongrong walked up to her, shook her head, took a deep breath, grabbed her shoulders, glared at her, and asked, Okay, Lin Wanqing, you are too uninterested. You are wasting my time with your good sister. You and the CEO secretly fell in love without telling me. Don't explain it either. I only believe that seeing is believing and hearing is false. If you still think of me as a good sister, tell me the truth quickly. When did you and the new CEO meet? When did you start? Lin Wanqing's shoulder hurt when she grabbed her, and she explained with a grimace. It's unfair. You also know that the president just came to the company today. How can I be a couple with him? Li Rongrong shouted in disbelief. Do you think I'm an idiot? We're not a couple. How can he eat the food you've eaten? This is done by the closest people. I heard that President Shen is also a misophobic person, so he doesn't mind your saliva. So you two must be having an affair? How did I know? He would eat my food. He and I have just met. We have nothing to do with each other. Lin Wanqing almost cried. Shen Yishuan was clearly deliberately trying to attract hatred for her, and he was just a cunning fox. You two really have nothing to do with each other? Li Rongrong looked at her suspiciously. I swear I have nothing to do with President Shen. Our relationship is just that of subordinate and superior. Lin Wanqing said seriously. Okay, let me believe you for now, but if you are really in love, don't hide it from me. Li Rongrong let go of her shoulders and then said, Don't forget to go to my house for dinner at 6 o'clock tonight and take my godson with you. By the way, I have to go to the cafeteria to find my brother, so you go up first and don't forget it tonight. I know. We'll see you tonight. Lin Wanqing waved to her, turned, and walked towards the elevator door. When the elevator opened, many people rushed in. Lin Wanqing had to take the second elevator. When she saw that there was no one inside, she quickly walked in. Lin Wanqing had just pressed the button for the 28th floor when suddenly a tall figure burst in and the elevator door closed. Before Lin Wanqing had time to see clearly who the person was, the elevator suddenly shook and it instantly became pitch black. Oh my God! There won't be any problems with the elevator. Lin Wanqing shouted in shock. At this moment, Lin Wanqing was suddenly hit. She leaned forward and her glasses fell to the ground. She quickly subconsciously searched for her glasses in the dark. Suddenly, a ray of light illuminated the elevator, and only a magnetic sound was heard reaching her eardrums. I have your glasses here. Shen Yishuan turned on the flashlight of his mobile phone, and the glasses were on his palm. Without her glasses, Lin Wanqing couldn't see clearly who the man standing in front of her was. She thanked him. Thank you. Please return my glasses to me. Secretary Lin, you look very beautiful without glasses. Shen Yishuan stared at her face and praised. Only then did she hear clearly that it was Shen Yishuan's voice. Lin Wanqing panicked. She quickly snatched the glasses from his hand, put them on, lowered her head, and said, It's you, President Shen. Thank you for helping me pick up the glasses. She felt uneasy. God, bless her. Don't recognize her. Why are you so afraid of me? Why do you always lower your head when talking to me? Have you done anything I'm sorry for? Shen Yishuan forced her body into the corner of the elevator and pressed her tightly against her, making it impossible for her to escape. No, CEO. We just met today. Lin Wanqing shook her head guiltily, almost nervous to death, secretly praying that the elevator would be repaired quickly. Why was it so unlucky that it broke down today? Shen Yishuan lifted her chin, made her look up at him, and said to her lightly, You really look familiar to me. As he spoke, he took off her glasses and stared straight at her face. President Shen listened to me, we really didn't. Lin Wanqing was incoherent. Before she could finish her words, her lips were blocked by him. Her eyes widened in surprise, and she instinctively wanted to push him away, but he suppressed her forcefully. Shen Yixuan just wanted to tease her, but the more he kissed her, the more addicted she became.